Hey guys, today we're going to cover gun disarms. And when we talk about gun disarms, I know there's a lot of kind of hype and questions and a lot of even criticisms, and some of them are obviously very well deserved. We want to go ahead and we want to break down gun disarms to just a common sense kind of way to disarm a gun and paying attention to a bunch of different factors, including a bunch of safety factors as well. First thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we're always training with a safety gun. That is the first thing that we need to pay attention to. We never train with real weapons. I don't care if you guys have checked it, make sure there's no ammo in it, make sure there's no magazine in the well. I don't care about any of that stuff. We're training safely, and that is the first thing we pay attention to. So we're always training with a training weapon, just like we're going to be doing in this video right here. So if you see right here, we like to go ahead and use a lot of them with the red tips right here. It just kind of exemplifies that we have a training weapon right here. Next thing we want to talk about when we talk about gun disarms is this whole factor about distance. Distance is paramount, and you've probably heard me say this in numerous videos. Distance is paramount because if someone is standing, let's say 12, 13, 14 feet away from me, I'm not going to be able to do a very effective gun disarms. Why? Because there's just too much distance to go ahead and do that. We might want to move to other strategies, but trying to go ahead and run up to somebody holding a gun, point it in a direction to disarm that weapon, it's just not very realistic. So when I say distance is paramount, this is exactly what I mean. If I have Mark standing here with a gun up at me, he needs to be in a certain kind of a distance for me to go ahead and manipulate this weapon. If he's standing at a distance which is farther than, let's say, me being able to reach out and touch the tip of the barrel, okay, all right, with my fingers right here, this is a range right here that I don't want to try one. If I'm farther away from that, I don't want to go ahead and I don't want to try that. We want to make sure that we are within, if Mark is holding the weapon all the way out straight armed, I want to make sure that I'm at least this distance, but most likely closer the better, and that's what we want to make sure that we understand. The closer the better in this kind of scenario. So the first kind of disarm we're going to go ahead and we're going to cover is what we call a frontal disarm, and it sounds exactly what it sounds like. The only little kind of detail I want to put in there is because there are different positions, we call it a frontal high disarm. Mark's going to go ahead, hold the gun right at my face just like this. The first kind of thing I'm going to do is make sure that my hands are up. I want to make sure that I exude some kind of a submissive position. This is obviously going to make him feel a bit more comfortable, and the way I prove that is go ahead and think of the exact opposite. This person goes ahead and says put your hands up. When we don't put our hands up, we're not being compliant. It's just going to piss this person off. If I go ahead and the person sticks a gun in my face and I start swearing and pointing back at the person, it's just going to enrage this person. It's going to make them probably a little bit trigger happy, and that's what we don't want. So in this kind of scenario right here, we want to make sure that our hands go up. We're acting submissive where our shoulders are up, our hands are up. I'm not looking the person directly in the eye, but the great thing is this is actually leading to our defense. It is lending a hand to our defense. So we're in this kind of scenario. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do what's called a clear. When we clear the weapon, we want to make sure this line of fire moves off of our body, and we accomplish that via two means. The first thing is we go ahead and we actually move the firearm off our body. Second thing we're doing is we're moving our body as well. Think about it this way, they're kind of using each other as like little insurance policies on each other. I'm moving the weapon, but I'm also moving the target, which is unfortunately my face. So as we go from right here, this is the clear. But also notice that I'm stepping in a little bit tighter too. I'm stepping in a little bit closer. It's very important for us to understand that. So when I do so, this is what we're looking for right here. It's an extra layer right here where as I move in, I have a little bit more leverage, but at the exact same time, what I'm able to do is if the person wants to re-sight up on me, they have to make another adjustment to do that. In other words, if I'm standing out here and they can pressure it back, this line of fire is much easier to go ahead and cover back on me as opposed to if I'm inside here, just like this. So from right here, we go ahead and we clear. Second thing we want to do is we want to isolate this weapon. We want to go right up under right here and holding the back of the firearm just like this. I'm going to go ahead and cover this again. We go ahead and we clear and isolate the weapon right here. Once we do this, we go right for a groin kick. I always like to throw in a shot of pain. The reason being is once we go ahead and we fire in a shot of pain, I don't care if we're talking about a joint lock of some sort, subduing someone, maybe a ground move, but if we go ahead and we put in a shot of pain, this person all of a sudden becomes more compliant, and that's what we want right here. So first step is a clear, then we isolate, then I'm kicking, and as I do that, I rip the weapon down to my hip. The reason why this is so important right here is I don't want to take away the weapon and have it right here where the person can just reach out and grab it again. So if I'm right here, I go ahead and I clear, I isolate, I kick, and then I rip it down right here. The kick that we're throwing is a groin kick. We'll rip it right down. I'm pulling this right down to my hip, and I'm pulling it back to my back hip if all possible. Once again, this hip right here is closer. This hip is farther away. I like to do that one. So we're going to walk through this again. Clear. Isolates. Okay, after we do that, we want to go ahead and kick. I call this the manipulation stage right here. We take the weapon away. Now from right here in this position, I can do one or two things. I'm going to throw in one little extra step right here, which is taking the gun and throwing it back in the person's face. Okay, we're just assuming the person is not going to just give up the gun, even if they didn't get a nice little shot in the groin right here. They may be leaning forward, trying to reach back. All I want to do is just respond with taking the barrel and throwing it, boom, right in the person's face right here. So be careful when we train this, but after we do this, the last thing we want to do is make sure that we back on up and clear the weapon. Backing on up is so important because we want to make sure that now we have distance on our side. And we do so by not being this close to someone, but by stepping away. So as we go ahead and we practice this, make sure we go here, here, here. After we do this, we are backing on up. Last but not least, smack and rack the weapon. The gun probably did go off. Even if it didn't, we want to make sure that we clear that weapon, make sure that we can use it if we need to. So the full disarm once again. These are the fundamentals you're going to go ahead, you're going to see in many of the disarms that we do following this first position right here. You try. Hey guys, for the second position, we're going to go ahead, we're going to cover if someone is holding a weapon to our high line, but they're doing so from the side. So if I have Don right up here, he's going to go ahead and hold the weapon right here. How we go ahead and how we act submissive, where we put our hands is so important. We want to put our hands on this position right here, not on the outside, but on the inside. As we do that, our clear changes a little bit. I still clear, but it's the exact same move. You know, it drives me crazy when I see people doing gun disarms, whether it be in magazines or on videos, and their first step is not to clear the weapon. You need to make sure that you clear the weapon. Clear that line of fire off your body. We do so in the exact same way by two different means, not just by the hand, but also our body as well. So as we do that, I'm in this position, I go ahead and I clear. Now, from here, here's the cool thing about this disarm. It's pretty much turning right into a frontal disarm, just like we have already done. We're only about a quarter or a half turn away from that. We might as well not just recreate the wheel. We want as many problems or as many situations, many scenarios handled by the least amount of answers possible, and this is a great example of it. So once again, Don is on the side right here. My hand is in the right position. I am clearing, and I just follow through with not only the isolation, the kick, and everything to all the way to the step back. Let's go ahead and let's kind of break that down step by step once again. So as we're right here, we're clearing, okay, isolating. I'm still kicking as I turn towards the person, ripping back down, feeding back to the face, and then stepping back as I clear. So important to make sure that we do that. The third kind of scenario that we have right here is that instead of the person being on our right side, we're not going to have somebody being on our left side right here. So if I have Mark come on out here, he's going to hold the weapon right to my head just like this. Now, assuming he's holding it in his right hand, and we'll talk about this kind of like in a little bonus section of this video, how things can change slightly. But if we just kind of make sure that we get the fundamentals down, this person's holding their right hand just like most people are right-handed, but they're on our left side. We're going to change this by having our hand right here, but instead of going ahead and trying to do a disarm all the way over here, we're going to shortcut it by going ahead and having this be the clear and then the shot of pain be a punch. The reason why I like to throw in the punches is because I just want to give you guys at least one more kind of pain tool, more or less. Instead of just always throwing the kick, now we can also do the high line punch as well. So as I cover right here, boom, this is my shot. As I do that, this reaches right under, I rip it down to my hip, I can feed right back to the face, clear, and I step and I move back. Notice how it goes ahead and it follows the exact same template regardless of what position they're in. So as we're right here, always starts off with the clear, but I'm stepping in just like I do with all these other ones. I'm punching. Notice how the step in provides a lot of the power for the punch. It's just not me going ahead and just using my arm. So as I do this, pop right here. This is now coming in here, rip down, outside or rear hip. I feed back if I need to or want to. I slap and rack as I go ahead and move back and gain distance. That's how we go ahead and we follow up in this particular position. The next kind of gun disarm scenario that we're going to handle is if someone's from behind. Once again, I've said this numerous times, distance is paramount. If someone's 15 feet behind you, this disarm will not work, or it's just not going to work very well, which is not what we want. So if I go ahead and I have Don attacking me from the rear, just like this, I always like to start off in saying that contact is very important. If we can establish contact, it gives me some kind of tactile proof of exactly where this person is, how far away are they, etc., etc. All right, even if the person does not come up and touch me with the weapon, I can establish contact. So if Don's right there holding the weapon, but there wasn't contact, as long as I'm acting submissive, I can back up a little bit. The person's gonna give me a little leniency right here to now where I go ahead and I feel it. But when we're dealing with a rear attack, I always like to do a little bit of a peek, okay? If I go ahead, let's say, and I do this and I peek, now I know, or I can confirm what hand the person's holding the weapon in. So from right here in this position, my hands go up, I'm just like this, all right? And my clear is very important. So from right here, I'm gonna go ahead and roll into the weapon right here. I'm gonna have Don behind me so you guys can see from that position what this exactly looks like. From here, I'm going here, okay? That makes up the clear. So from right here, hands go up, I have contact if I can establish it. I've already peeked to kind of confirm the person's holding in the right hand right here. Now I'm turning. Next thing I want to do is loop around the arm. So this is what it looks like. Here, here, pop, just like this. Once I'm down here, then I can go ahead and I can take my hands. I want to go ahead and roll the shoulder into a shoulder lock, just like this. This is straight out, there's pressure down the shoulder, I'm locking out the shoulder and the elbow. From right here, I'm putting this hand on the neck, I'm stretching this arm out. If I need to or want to, I can kick or knee. Here's the gun disarm. I can go ahead and I can smack to the back of the head, and as always, follow up. Make sure we're following up with backing up and also clearing that weapon. All right, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do this once again. I'm gonna hold from this position right here just so you guys can get another angle on it. Oh, I love contact if possible. I peeked right here. As I clear, this comes around right here and I'm hitting. I'm rocking around here just like this. Here's the lock, okay, all right? Knee or kick if I need to. Stretch this person out right here, here, popping, and going right here. I'm gonna have Don over here in this position just so we can go ahead and see it from a different angle more or less. So as we go right here, okay, I've peeked right here. This is my clear, here, rock down, there if I need to, hand on the neck, stretching on out right here. I'm still in control. Take the weapon, I can hit here if I want to, and then go ahead and clear and step back. That is the last of the 4 kind of disarms that we have. All right, guys, as I promised, here's some bonus information for this particular topic right here. A lot of people go ahead and they say, what happens if the person's holding the weapon with both hands? And you have to understand that even if they have both hands on the weapon, there's only truly one hand holding that weapon. Meaning that if I have Mark out here, and if he's using 2 hands, let's say, notice that only one hand is truly holding the weapon. So that is the hand that we're manipulating right there. That is why the disarms would be the exact same thing as I go ahead and I do that. That does not change it at all. The other thing that I want to go ahead and add in there is what happens if we have a left-handed attacker. So if I have Mark coming on in here and he holds the weapon just like this, everything would just be the opposite, meaning that I go ahead and I clear this way and then go on and follow up with whatever sequence it is that we did. That's also going to change in particular to the side disarms right here. So if I have Mark with a left-handed gun right here, okay, and this is happening, well, what do I do in this kind of situations? I still clear, but instead of me turning it into a regular frontal disarm just like we did earlier, now I go ahead and I do that kind of disarm because once again, he's on my right side, but he is holding it with his left hand. So my point is, when we go ahead and we train with these things, make sure you train not just with single hand and double hand, but also with right and left-handed attackers. Thanks so much. Don't forget to go ahead and check out the description. There's so much more I want to share with you guys. We'll see you guys soon.